Hello, wonderful audience. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with me. Welcome to our channel, where today's focus is all about Cyclone Bijli. Let's get started. Cyclonic Storm Bijli JTWC designation, was the first tropical cyclone to form during the 2009 North Indian Ocean cyclone season. Bijli formed from an area of low pressure on April 14. Later that evening, RSMC New Delhi upgraded the low-pressure area to depression and designated it as BOB1. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center JTWC then issued a Tropical Cyclone Formation Alert for the system and soon after designated it as Tropical Depression On the evening of April 15, both RSMC New Delhi and the JTWC reported that the system had intensified into a tropical storm, with the former naming it Bilji. Soon after, Bilji reached its peak intensity as it approached the coast of Bangladesh. However, on the morning of April 17, Bijli weakened to a deep depression due to land interaction, before making landfall just south of Chittagong. The remnants of Bilji continued to weaken as they tracked across northern Myanmar before RSMC New Delhi issued their last advisory on April 18. The word Bijli refers to lightning in Hindi. As we progress, let's zoom in on meteorological history and examine its role in shaping our overall narrative. On April 13, an area of shower and thunderstorms became slightly organized over the central Bay of Bengal. Later that day, an area of low pressure developed underneath the convection as the system developed. Weak banding features also formed around the periphery of the storm. By April 14, deep convection persisted around the center of circulation. Following the development, the RSMC in New Delhi, India designated the system as Depression BOB1. Following further development, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center JTWC issued a Tropical Cyclone Formation Alert TCFA as they anticipated the system to develop into a tropical storm. Early the next morning, the JTWC reported that the depression had intensified into a tropical storm and designated it as Cyclone The storm tracked towards the west-northwest due to a mid-level ridge over India. Later that morning, RSMC New Delhi reported that the depression had intensified into a deep depression and reported it was expected to intensify into Cyclonic Storm Bijli. Around 1500 UTC, the RSMC New Delhi upgraded the system to cyclonic storm and gave it the name Bijli. Partial convective banding developed around the periphery of the system as it intensified. The conditions for good outflow were present but did not develop. Around this time, the forward motion of the storm also slowed. On April 16, the storm turned towards the northeast, paralleling the eastern coast of India. Around 600 UTC, RSMC New Delhi reported that Bijli had reached its peak intensity with winds of 75 to 45 miles per hour 3-minute winds. Early on April 17, RSMC New Delhi reported that Bijli had weakened into a deep depression as it started to move the northeast. Moving on to the next segment, we have India. All 4 parts in Odisha were placed on high alert due to rough seas produced by the storm. A local cautionary signal number 3 was issued for the Gopalpur, Puri, Paradeep and Chandabali ports. Heavy rain from thunderstorms fell in Andhra and Orissa due to the outer bands of Bijli. Winds up to 55 km were also reported along the coast. Moving ahead, let's uncover the hidden gems within Bangladesh and discover their significance. In Bangladesh, at least 40,000 volunteers from the Bangladeshi Red Cross were placed on standby in case evacuations were required. Bangladeshi officials urged all ports to be on high alert and all fishermen to stay at port. The warning signal was placed at No. 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest level of warning. Thousands of residents on Maheshkali Island evacuated to 80 shelters. As the storm neared landfall, ports in Chittagong raised their warning level to 7. Following the increased warning level, an estimated 10,000 evacuated from coastal regions. Weather officials estimated that the storm would produce a storm surge of 2.1 to. On April 17, all flights in and out of Bangladesh were cancelled due to dangerous conditions. Shelters were also opened and were reportedly able to accommodate about 1 million people. In Chittagong, 6,000 volunteers set up to assist in the aftermath of the storm, and about 283 medical teams formed within the group. An estimated 200,000 people evacuated from Chittagong and the Cox's Bazar district before the storm made landfall. The Tropical Rainfall Measuring Mission satellite, jointly operated by NASA and JTWC, estimated that Bilji produced a maximum of 129 millimeters of rain over coastal Bangladesh, with rainfall rates reaching nearly 15 in. High winds downed several trees, numerous homes sustained damage, and several ships on offshore islands were reportedly caught in the storm. High winds and heavy rains have also knocked out power to some communities. A storm surge of 2.1 meters was recorded in the Cox's Bazar district, with reports higher amounts in localized areas. At least 12 huts, 50 betel beef fields, and a large amount of salt have been damaged by the storm. Later reports indicated that thousands of homes have been damaged or destroyed by the storm. The first fatality caused by Bijli occurred when a tree knocked down by high winds fell on a 9-year-old boy, killing him on impact and injuring his sister. In the Cox's Bazar district, a school teacher and 2 students were killed. One of the 2 children was trampled to death during the evacuation. The other child was killed when his home collapsed on top of him. During the evacuation, a 48-year-old man collapsed and died after suffering a heart attack. His child, who was only a few months old, also died from medical circumstances which were aggravated during the evacuation. In all, the storm destroyed 500 thatched houses and 1,500 betel leaf plantations and flooded about 70,000 acres of cropland. Throughout Bangladesh, 7 people were killed and 84 were injured. A total of 702 homes were destroyed and more than 3,825 others were damaged, as well as 3,636 acres of agricultural land. In the Cox's Bazar district, 607 head of livestock drowned during the storm. Following the impacts of Bijli, the government of Bangladesh allocated 79,000 in assistance to affected population. The Department of Relief and Rehabilitation in Bangladesh provided 450 metric tons of rice to 4 districts, 200 of which was sent to Chittagong. To prevent an outbreak of post-storm diseases, the World Health Organization activated 1,105 medical teams in the country. In this segment, we'll be unraveling the complexities of Myanmar and exploring its multifaceted nature. A storm surge of 1.8 was also expected to impact coastal areas of Myanmar close to the Bangladeshi border. An estimated 6,000 fishing trawlers were to return to port by the afternoon of April 17. Following the devastating results of Cyclone Bijli almost a year prior, officials in Myanmar urged residents along the coast to evacuate. Thousands of residents living in rural villages sought shelter in inland towns along the coast of Myanmar. The entire village of Aokun were evacuated after hearing about an approaching cyclone on the radio. According to local residents, we are taking precautions unlike earlier in reference to the large loss of life due to Cyclone Bijli. The storm produced little or no storm surge in Myanmar as it made landfall. However, the remnants of Bilji produced heavy rains over northern areas of the country before the storm dissipated. I love interacting with my viewers, so leave me a comment and I'll do my best to respond.